Hello all. I want to talk about annuity calculator. Imagine that I am 55 years old and I am expecting to retire in 10 years. And I feel that the social security that the government is giving me is not enough. It gives me $1,000 a month when I retire at 65, and it is not enough for me to retire, to use $1,000 a month. I need more money for my retirement. What I will do, let's say I have $20,000 in my bank, and I feel that from now that I am 55 until I become 65, I can invest $10,000 every year for 10 years. And then the bank is telling me that it gives me 6% interest on it. Therefore, what will happen is that that's a great smart idea for me to invest this money. That way, when I click calculate, that way, when I become 65 years old, I will have $175,000 extra in my bank account, which means in addition to $1,000 that I get from Social Security, I will have $175,000 with a very solid and important bank. What happened, how did it come to become 175, is because originally I had $20,000 here, which was here. For 10 years, which is here, I put $10,000, that's $100,000. And then the interest went through, added to it, which was 55. Now it is 175. When I put this money in the bank, usually in annuity, you sign a contract with the bank or with a pension fund, important. These have to be important organizations, important financial institutions that you will sign an annuity contract or. What happens is when I become 65 years old, then this bank is gonna, this pension fund, is gonna to return this money to me over, let's say, a period of 10 years. Over a period of 10 years, that means if it is $17,000, 170,000 here, over, let's say, 10 years, that means every year it's going to give me $17,000, which is great because that 17,000, that means it is around $1,500 a year added to my social security, which is $1,000, and then that means I will have $2,500. However, when this start paying this money after 10 years, it is better to give me more than $17,000. Why? Because they are holding to this money. This money earns interest every year. Therefore, I deserve to have interest on this one because they are not giving me all at once. If they give me all at once after 10 years, then that's correct. They have to give me 175. But they are keeping it in their own account and they want to release only $17,000 of it. And the rest of it should earn interest. Therefore, if it is a good deal, instead of giving me $17,000 a year, for example, they give me $24,000 to make sure I am compensated. Now I have $1,000 for Social Security, $2,000 additional payment for, this annuity, which means I will have $2,500. But one problem exists here is that when I become 65, this money only, the contract is for 10 years, which means is enough until I am 75 years old. What would I do after this money is running out? I end up back to that $1,000. What can I do? There are some annuities that are called life annuity. Life annuity is that after 10 years, the bank will have this much. Then I sign a contract with the bank and say, give me this one instead of 10 years to give it back to me. Give me for as long as I am alive. Therefore, the bank is gonna now to give me $2,000 a month. 2,000 if I ask to give me back in 10 years. In that case, the bank would assume that I would live up to age 90 and then say, okay, we will distribute this money from my age 65 to age 90. And that means that it has to last for 25 years. If they want to give this money back to me for 25 years, they are not going to give me $2,000 a month. Instead, they say, okay, they are going to give me a additional, let's say, $1,200 a month, because now they are returning it back to me for the rest of my life, which I might live up to age of 90. The bank hopes that I don't live that long, because the bank, hope is that I die at age of, 67, because they will pay me only for 2 years. My hope is to live up to 100 years. Why? Because if I live up to age 100 years, this bank has signed a contract to give me $1,200 a month until the end of my life. Do you see? That's called life annuity, as opposed to term annuity, which runs for 10 years. Therefore, you have to understand what the term of the annuity is. And then after you click calculate, for example, there is something comes to, don't forget that this is 17,000, 175,000. Then it comes here, there is another annuity payout. I just talked about payout, It comes here, that means I had 175,000. Here you go, 175,000. Let's see. And I don't want the payout. If it is, I live up to 10 years, I told you it gives me 10,000. But let me see how much it gives me, 2,000. Do you see? It gives me the amount that is giving me is $2,000. Do you see that? Therefore, if you go for life annuity, if you say that you want to live and you are at age 65, the bank would think that they have to give this 175 until I live up to age 95. 90. Age 90 to 65 is 25 years. The bank is smart, Therefore, it says, okay, they give, as long as I live, they give me, that's 175,000. I click calculate. Do you see? They are going to give me only $1,000 because they think that I live up to age 90. Usually their calculation is up to age 90. Do you see that is 175? Do you see here 175,000? In first year, they pay me less. And this is the year that's when I become 90, I break even and I get all the money from them. My hope is if I live longer, then the bank is supposed to, if I live up to age 100, the bank is supposed to pay this much. Therefore, for my break-even point, I have to live up to age 90. If I live more than that, I have benefited because I got a good deal. And the bank, if I live less, I got a bad deal because the bank is going to benefit. Therefore, in terms of, the stock market, they say that the bank is short, I am long, it's a term it is used. Therefore, we want you to understand the concept of these annuities. Many elderlies like these annuities. Why? Because it gives them some guarantee. If I am a person who I have $1,000 a month for my retirement, why shouldn't I have this, And I am not a good investor. I don't know how to invest in the stock market. Therefore, I sign a contract with some, major, pension funds. You want to make sure that organization, New York Life, for example, these are important names, very solid. You don't want to put it in a crazy company that goes bankrupt and your money disappears. You want some, very solid organizations. They get this money from you, and then they will return it, Of course, they are smart. They think you are going to live up to 95. Therefore, they are going to give you a little less. Here you go, 95 years old. That's what their assumption is. This is called life annuity. And then calculate, they give you 855 until the rest of your life. The only negative thing about this 855 is that when I become 855 is a lot of money when I become 65 years old. But let's not forget, I live 30 years after 65. Therefore, this money at age 65 might be a lot of money. However, when I get to 94 years old, this money is not significant. That means it is not growing. Inflation, it reduces the value of this, although the check is always going to be for 855, but that's not significant amount of money while I am 94 years old. It might be good amount of money while I am 65. Therefore, we want you to know about these concepts, and this is how the money is going to be returned to you. Do you see? This is $175,000, and then this is the interest that is going to take place as well longer, and this is the monthly payment I will get, and therefore this money will be reduced. And when I get to the age of 95, that money the bank has returned all the money to me at zero. And then if I live longer, then the bank is required to continue paying me this amount of money because it was a life annuity, not a term which was 10-year annuity.